I think we are streaming. This is, believe it or not, my first stream on YouTube with a camera. So I set up the camera, audio should be coming good. So I'm actually gonna text my buddy Tony to let me know if the stream is actually going good. 1 second, Tony, streaming. Is it all good? Bear with me. Because today we're gonna be talking about these cameras, specifically this one right here, the EV1. So we're gonna be talking about the M line and why I'm so excited about this camera. You guys know I own quite a few M bodies from film, digital, and some of the vintage ones as well. And I mean, I'm very excited about this camera. So in this video, I want to talk about some of the lenses that I think this camera give those lenses a brand new life. Lenses that were somehow a little bit more difficult with traditional rangefinder cameras. And I'm also going to talk about some of the accessories that I have already hooked up in this camera. Do I have them all? Yes, I think I have pretty much everything here. And yeah, I'll walk you through my thought process. Perhaps you been eyeing this camera right here. And of course, today we have only one camera, so I'll be doing a lot of these things. Let me actually cancel tracking. There you go. A lot better now. Audio's good, guys? I believe so. So we got some people joining the chat, and that's all good. All right, so Leica released for the very first time a camera that is an M body with an EVF, as you guys can see it here. So a lot of people, of course, they don't like this because Leica is actually breaking with the tradition of standard M bodies. I have an M7 right here. So, you know, if you look at a film camera from from Leica, and you take a look at a digital one, film, I mean to say. And if you take a look at a digital one, you're talking about pretty much almost the same experience. I think I'm gonna have to remove eye detection because, let's see, can I remove eye detection from here? Oh, cannot do it doing the stream output. Well, for the next video, so we're gonna have to do that. So as you see, you know, this has been since forever, since 1932, believe it is, that these cameras have the rangefinder. And now, for the first time in 2025, we don't have that. And we have the electronic EVF. And I want to talk about why I think this is a really good idea. And I know a lot of you guys are going to burn me there and say, what are you talking about? M is supposed to be rangefinder. Well, happens that Leica has been designing a lot of new lenses where the rangefinder cannot tap into that capability. And I have one of the lenses right here, which is this one, is the 50mm Summilux, and this lens, as you guys can see here in the back, has a 0.45 meter minimum close focusing distance. What that means is that in order for you to focus with this lens, you can only do it on a digital body. You cannot do it on a film body, for example, or in a digital one, such as this Leica M11D that doesn't have a screen, unless I put a VisiFlex or unless I kind of like measure the distance and, you know, pray for the best. Now, this lens is actually an f1.4, and chances are that even if you guesstimate the distance or if you even measure it with a measuring tape, you're going to be off. Specifically, if you're doing a portrait, you're going to be off, the eyes are going to be blurry. And this is a problem with all the brand new lenses that Leica has been bringing, because most of the fast lenses they brought, now they have close focusing distance. For example, one of my favorite lenses of Leica in the past year has been the Apple 35mm, right? This little guy right here. Now, this lens, if you take a look, has a 0.3 meters. Even closer. This is by far the lens with the closest minimum focusing distance. And there's a lot to love about this lens. Now, why I like the 35 Apple? Not necessarily because of its absurd sharpness, but mostly because of its close focusing distance. And I consider this lens kind of like a great match for an everyday street camera, which is kind of like what I've been doing for the past year. So the 35mm allows me to capture that environmental context in my composition, and it also allows me to come very close to a subject and take really nice portrait with good background separation. And once again, if I'm going to be using any of the digital embodies, I won't be able to do it unless I put the VisiFlex or unless I use the screen. And I've been actually doing the screen for quite some time, you know, with all these lenses that have the close focusing distance, trying to use the screen. But the screen sometimes doesn't cut it in super bright days. Or if I'm not wearing my glasses, kind of like the screen is not cut it, you know, period. Now, this camera not only has an electronic EVF, but it also has a diopter, meaning that I don't need to wear my contacts or my glasses. I can simply dial this thingy right here, and as long as I'm dialing it to somewhat very close to my eyesight, I'll be able to see everything super, super sharp. We cannot do that with rangefinders. Now, I want to stop for a moment and say that I'm not knocking off rangefinder cameras. I own quite a bunch of them, and I do love them. But I think that for a specific type of photography or specific type of hangout, I may actually choose this camera. And I want to actually use this camera exclusively probably for the next 6 months. Yes, I mean this, 6 months, because that's what pretty much what it takes me to kind of like get to know a camera, even from model to model, even if the models are similar. I try to latch onto a camera for a long time and pretty much get to know the gear very, very well. Now there's going to be another lens that I want to talk about, and are going to be lenses that are beyond the 50 millimeters, such as 75 millimeters, which I think is kind of like the limit for how easy it is to shoot wide open with rangefinder. You know, the 75 Apple, for example, is a great lens, and I find myself that I have a pretty good success rate with that particular lens. Now, when it comes to the 90 millimeter lens, and it's where, you know, things start getting tricky and trickier. And let's actually talk about another great lens that is even, you know, even a little bit more of a hit and miss, which is going to be the 135 Apple Tele, I'm sorry, the 135, and this one is a 3.4. I love this lens. I really like the rendering, and I like to shoot wide open. And again, you know, wide open for this lens is the 3.4 with a minimum close focusing distance of 1.5 meter. Of course, you're 135 millimeters. And honestly, I popped this lens today just to do a couple of tests, and you know, I would have never been able to focus that fast with a rangefinder. And this is a lens that I really like, and I happen to use it a lot on my Leica SL3 adapted with an M mount, but this is an M lens. So I think that it makes a lot of sense that Leica has actually given us another tool, because this system is going to untap the potential not only of modern lenses, but even the potential of older lenses. Lenses that may suffer from, you know, from focus or back focus, lenses that are a pain to keep them calibrated. And also, you no longer have to worry about if your rangefinder is a little bit off or if your lens is a little bit off. Now with this camera, you're going to be able to pop a lens and always acquire focus. Of course, if your misalignment or calibration is in infinity, well, you know, this is not going to fix it. You're going to have to go and calibrate your lens to be, you know, to be able to kind of like go sharp or go to infinity, because that happens to some lenses that they cannot reach infinity. So this is not going to fix that problem. And I don't think that anyone has actually talked about that when they say, oh, well, you know, this EVF kind of like solves that problem. Now, let's talk about another thing that right off the bat, I realized when I got this camera. Oh, by the way, the lens that I have right here is the 90mm Summary f2.4. I love this lens because it is so light. It is a 90mm. And I got this lens before I got the 90 Apple. I tried both. I paid $1,000 for this lens. The Apple was several thousands of dollars. And I had more success rate with this lens. And f2.4 to f2, there's not a lot of difference, and this lens is super sharp, it is shorter, and it is super, super light. So this is one of my favorite 90mm lenses that I own, the Summary. It produces an outstanding image quality. It's not a vintage lens, but it's also not an spherical lens, though it is a modern lens. As you see, it has the 6-bit right there in the background. Sorry about this camera like taking forever to focus. The 6-bit right there in the back. So it's a modern lens, but Leica discontinued the summer line altogether, and they actually made really good lenses. The 35 f2.5, the 50 f2.5 as well as an amazing lens, which I also own, and the 90s are great. I think they also made 75 millimeters as well. Anyway, so what I wanted to mention is that the first thing that I noticed when I picked up the camera is how light this camera is. And I think we're talking about 80 grams in different, in between this body and let's say an M11 aluminum body. Once again, the body is made out of aluminum on this one. But yeah, you can actually tell the difference when it comes to weight. Meaning that if you put heavier lenses, you know, you're still gonna have something really good. And if you like lighter setups, like I do, this is gonna be good. Although, you know, when I carry film, I'm kind of like used to this as my normal way for a camera, you know, especially with a bigger lens. This is the M7, love this camera. It's made out of brass if I'm not mistaken. And yes, you know, you can feel the heft. And also my M11 100 years, that one is also made out of brass. When I put a somewhat heavy lens, I always, you know, feel the camera a little bit lighter. Now, heavier, I'm sorry. So let me actually talk about another lens where I think this camera kind of like untap its potential. There are going to be a couple of lenses, but this one that I want to show is going to be the 24 millimeter. This is an f2. I'm sorry. This is a 21 millimeter lens. Oh, wait a second. This is the 21. No, I'm sorry. I was looking for the 24, which it actually looks the same. But let's pretend this is the 24. It's actually there. So the 24 millimeter, you don't have frame lines for 24 millimeters. So it's great because now I just see the field of view here. I don't know if I could do this. I don't know. Oh, wow. So I can see exactly how the lens sees. Really hard to show you guys that. But right over here, we are at exactly 21 millimeters. So being able to preview the field of view is something that before we'd have to do with a specific optical viewfinder. So not only we use the rangefinder to focus, but now we, you know, if we want to see the field of view, you would have to find that particular optical viewfinder mounted in the center of the camera. And, you know, God forbid you want to use a thumb grip or you want to use something else or flash, you're out of luck. Because if you want to preview the field of view, what the lenses see, you have to occupy the shoe right there. So the more I starting to analyze the things that I can do with this camera, with the lenses that I kind of like struggled a little bit with my M system, which has been the reason why I adopted the SL system pretty much since the very first SL3 and tried it before the SL2, which it got me to get the SL3, is because my lenses have a complete whole new life. I can do more things with those lenses if I can see, if I can focus, if I can compose and kind of like see what the lenses see, right? Which is what most cameras these days do, but with the M system, we just got it in 2025. Now, you know, a lot of people are gonna say, well, but you know, and I've heard it, well, you can get a Sony and you can get a Sony A7C. That's all fine. But us, the shoe Leica, this is the first time that we pretty much get everything we want. Well, almost, because I think like Leica should have also put a tilt screen here and call it a day and, you know, just gave us the whole enchilada, because I can also use that, tell you that. And it's something that I also love a lot from the Q3 line and from the SL3, being able to tilt, lower the camera, go infraganti, incognito, and sometimes, you know, take some photos that otherwise you would have to aim the camera in the eye and pretty much spook the subject. So, yeah, so I think that now we have everything, at least I wanted on an M system. The capability of preview my composition accurately with wide lenses, 21, 24, 18 millimeter, right? We have the Leica 18 millimeter as well, which is a lens that I wanna probably get at some point. And, you know, without any compromises. You take a photo and you know how much of that composition is in the frame. Now, rangefinder is it's a baseline. Rangefinders are not accurate neither. You know, sometimes you chop off some of the composition that you thought it was going to be in the rangefinder, and that happened to me a lot of time. And a lot of things that you cannot see with the rangefinder is the parallax effect, specifically when you're working with wide angle lenses. The perspective, you want to correct that perspective a lot of the time in camera, right? And with a rangefinder, that perspective, you can eyeball it only, but you are never going to get it perfectly straight unless you're upright, eye level with a perspective. Otherwise, a lot of the times it requires you to kind of like manipulate it in post, where right now, if your lines are skew or now vertical or parallel, you can correct it right on the bat. And again, yes, I've heard this from people. People say there are so many cameras right now, and wow, like this, like that. Yes, but guess what? M lenses are one of my favorite lenses, and there are so many older lenses, and those lenses work natively here. So you could even adapt an LTM lens like a thread mount, and now take full advantage of a vintage lens with modern tools such as an electronic EVF. Now, I made a video about the VisiFlex, and the VisiFlex was kind of like the pseudo EVF alternative that we had on these bodies, right? But the VisiFlex only works on specific models. You cannot put the VisiFlex of a Leica M EV1 on an M246, like for example I have right here, and there's a particular model that belongs to that one, and I also have M10. So M10, kind of like the one of the F11, works on the M10, but the screen is a little bit smaller, what you see there. So, it was kind of like a workaround. And on top of that, VisiFlex is a very ugly thing in the center of the camera, and no longer you're actually enjoying the rangefinder experience. So I'm going to take a moment right now and just read the chat, because I see that there are some comments popping in right now. So we got people joining us. Let me know any question that you may have. Drop them in the comment down below. I'll go through the camera, and I gotta be really honest, I got very excited, took a couple of pictures, accessorized the camera. I'm gonna show you how I accessorized it, because I changed stuff in the camera, and I have not dove in the menus yet. All right, so I am Hassan. Evening. Hope all is well. Everything is well. Mr. G says hello. Omar Robles, do you feel it being lighter in your head? Oh yeah, it's like I mentioned before. It feels really light. Even compared to. Let me actually do that. Oh, I have a scale here. So I have a scale here. Don't ask me why I weigh. Just kidding. I have a scale here, and I'm gonna weight the camera. This is the M11D. All right, so this camera is, I'll take a picture of this because I have only one camera. All right, so this one, as you guys can see, 500 and what does it say there? 574 grams. That's what that one weighs, the M11D. Now we're gonna weigh the new. Okay, and this one is 525, give or take. Here you go. You see there. Give it some time. 518 grams. So 570 something. So yeah, it's about 60 grams lighter. I mean, I have some accessories here. I also have the kind of like the same accessory there. We're talking about 60 grams, give or take. I've heard somewhere that it's about 80 grams. Oh, remember, I'm comparing it versus this one. This one doesn't have a screen, and this one is lighter. So yeah, it's safe to say that it's probably about 80 grams of difference. I could kind of like wait another camera, but we're not gonna waste time doing that. So that's that. Okay, so that goes for my friend, buddy, Omar Robles. Carrier Fusion, he can wait. Tony cannot wait to get his. The FOMO that Tony and I, we've been going through, it's a long story. Yeah, inside joke. Anyway, Fantasia says with PT mount adapter, we can use Leica lenses on the EV1. Oh, PT, yeah. Oh yeah, you can use anything. And so yeah, so going back to the camera, I think that while a lot of people are now kind of like refusing the camera in the sense that, you know, a lot of people feel that the tradition is being lost in here. But when you think about Leica, Leica was a film company, right? Film camera company. Where are we right now? We have cameras with image stabilization. We have cameras with electronic EVF. We have cameras with tilt screen. We have cameras with everything a modern camera has. And we have cameras that can also shoot video. So I think that Leica is just simply going on their path of evolution, evolving on their products, and always finding new ways to give us new tools with the systems that we love the most. Remember, this camera still takes these vintage lenses that I have. This one is 90mm f4 collapsible lens. Really like this lens, which again is a lens that even though it's an f4, for some reason it's really hard for me to focus with this lens with a rangefinder, probably because the lens needs calibration. But now that problem is gone, because right now I just simply look through the viewfinder and that's it, and I can take a shot, you know. So a lot of my lenses have a new life right now, or my photos have a new life with my lenses, because now I'll be able to do things that I couldn't be able to do before. Couldn't do before. Sorry, I can't speak. I'm really tired today, but I wanted to put this video. You know that. Oh, all right. Every time. There you go. There you go. Okay, I figured out how to close that collapsible lens. Always that's the same to me. So that's that. Another thing that I want to mention is that when it comes to the experience and the menus and all that stuff, you know, that was another reason not to question getting this camera. And I have to say that I am selling a lot of my digital embodies, from M240s, M10s, M11s. I have pretty much every one of them. Yes, this camera is going to allow me to get rid of more cameras, and which is going to be smart for me to do that, because a lot of them, you know, I can't shoot them all, but I am pretty excited about this one. And I have to say something, I cannot wait for Leica to announce an M EV1 monochrome. And you know that your boy is going to get that camera. Now let me tell you how I will set up this camera, all right? So first thing that I do every time I get a camera is I go back in the menu here and I go to the JPEG setting, and that's what we're gonna do right now. I go to the JPEG setting right over here, and there's gonna be a video coming up, guys. So this one is a live. I hope you like this live format. Never done this before here on YouTube, believe it or not. I mean, not with a camera. And I am going to, first of all, I am going to choose the resolution of my JPEG. I usually leave it at 36 megapixel. I don't need to shoot JPEGs more than that. And then film style, automatically it goes to the black and white high contrast, as you see right there. All right, so the next thing that I do is I get out of the menu, go on page number 4, and we're gonna go to focus, user profile, right? So we go user profile there, and I'm gonna create a user profile because I'm gonna be saving all my settings. And what I've done is I configure this thingy right here, which we are gonna talk about in just a moment what this little thing does. So we are gonna go to the picture profile here, number 4, and I'm gonna create a new profile. So I'm gonna go all the way down to manage profile, and then I'm gonna save it. And right now I have it in the number 1. So I'm gonna save everything in the number 1 profile. I'll say yes. And then what I do, I go once again to user settings, manage profile. Oh man, I dislike this. Focus. And then I go to rename profile. And I rename the number 1 and I call it black and white. Let me see if Leica lets you put 2 letters now, because before you have to put 3. So black and white. No, black and white and space. All right, so profile number 1 is finally labeled black and white. And now I'm on profile number 1. If you see right there at the bottom, it's called black and white. So I do this because the moment I start using the camera, I'm gonna configure the camera to my liking. And I believe that even the calibration of the EVF gets saved in the picture profile, which is great. So you can do, I hope so, that's what it does. So I'm gonna save it again. Let me see. I'm gonna go to user profile, save it, manage profile, save, and I'm gonna save it as the black and white. Boom. And now I'm gonna make the EVF out of whack, because this is actually, okay, now it's out of whack. And I'm gonna change the profile. I'm gonna go profile, any profile. And now I'm gonna go back and I'm gonna see if it saved it. Sorry, need to pop a lens. Nope, it actually, it doesn't save. Okay, so this is something good. So it doesn't save, or apparently it doesn't. Let me actually, I gotta figure that out. So there are gonna be a lot of things that I'm gonna be trying in this camera for my video, setup video. Now the other thing that I wanna show you is how I have configured this camera with some of the accessories that my company Owl Crown makes. And first thing first, so the straps that I've been rocking lately have been this rope straps, and this is the Stealth model, all blacked out and with polished split rings. Actually, the Stealth comes with black rings, but I had this one made with silver rings. So this is very flexible. It's a very flexible strap, and we relax the fibers of the climber's rope. So it's very sloppy, and I can just wrap it around my hand. And also, so it can be very soft when you wear it around your neck. Now, the next thing that I put right away, focus, 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 is going to be a shutter topper, 15.75 millimeter, all black, okay? So that's that. This, you know, really helps me to fire faster. I feel that I have more control. And of course, we have the hot grip by Owl Crown, and this one allows you to fire flash. If I remove this, I can put the shoe and I can fire flashes without removing the hot grip. We also released the one for the Leica Q3 and Q2, which works really, really good. And last but not least, you guys know me that all my cameras have either no dot, or I swap the dot for a black dot. And a lot of you ask me on the videos, where do you get those suckers? Well, I actually go on eBay and I buy them from sellers from Japan that somehow they still have those original Leica black dots. I don't know if Japan dealers have some sort of deal back in the days, but a lot of people have those in Japan. Also, there's some sellers here in the USA that have them. But I'm gonna wrap this one up, guys, because like I said, one thing that I wanted to mention is that this camera brings a new life to a lot of lenses that were somewhat complicated to focus with or visualize the field of view, or you did not have frame lens for. That's point number one. Point number two, actually point number one, how good are your eyes? Because for people like me that I wear a prescription, having to wear glasses and come in contact with the rangefinder, it's not the best experience, right? So, and as a result of that, sometimes I wear one contact in one eye. So yeah, so that out of the way, I don't have to wear glasses or contact when I'm on the street shooting. That's great. You can actually preview the exposure live, okay? You don't have to chimp on the screen or, you know, just figure it out, your readouts. You just simply see how the camera is exposing, and that's how I measure my exposure. I don't go by meter or anything. I just look for it. I set a button for my exposure compensation. I actually changed this button to be my exposure compensation. And I'll tell you a little bit how I set up this camera really quick before I finish. So I have a lever right here that has two modes. One is this mode, and then it's the mode that way. Now, when I push it inwards, it activates the magnification because, you know, my finger will be either here in the tab or this one that has a round ring, so it's right there. So I can kind of like in one motion activate the magnification, and that's awesome. The other one, I set it up for, I think, what is it? Yeah, I set it up for focus peaking, although I don't use focus peaking. It's set up for that, but I can set it up for, I don't know, some other things. What would be nice is if Leica, because I don't think you could do it, to actually toggle focus point, meaning that we have that cross right there. It'll be nice that I can actually configure this to toggle that thing and recall it in the center. Like if you're watching this video, switch or some button to call that point in the center, because right now if my cross is in this point, for me to bring it down to the center I have to tap twice at the bottom of the screen. I don't know if that focus toggle focus point option is right here in the camera. I'm gonna have to check that out because they actually added to the Leica cues. Maybe it's there, I don't know, but if not, it will be nice to actually assign it here to the lever. Again, I'm gonna do another video when I put more time with this camera and tell you more about that. So that's that. Now this button right here, I set it up for the ISO. Why here and not in the back? Well, I rock auto ISO and I set a maximum setting for my ISO, which is usually 50,000 ISO. This camera can handle ISO very well, and I rarely go to 50,000, so I just set it up in auto ISO setting. 50,000 minimum shutter speed I set up in my auto ISO setting, 250, and for the most part the ISO is auto. So it's not an option that I need to access very often anymore, and if I have to, I just click right here. Let me show you. If I have to, I just click the back of the screen and then I can change my setting, but I won't do that because I actually have the push option of the rear dial to be my exposure compensation, which is something that I do use a lot more than ISO. So I basically use my camera in aperture priority. During bright days, I leave it in auto shutter speed. But when the light is questionable, you know, that's when I start handling my shutter speed manually. And now, you know, there is more time to focus on getting your images in focus than fiddling around with the EVF. I tried all the lenses that were so difficult for me to focus to here at the house, and it was just a matter of popping the lens, going like that, done. Whereas before I would have to find lines around the composition that were parallel so I can bring the patch to focus, or if there are, you know, if you're trying to focus in areas where there are a lot of vertical line pattern, it's super difficult to focus because you don't know which line is which one. All that is gone, guys. So once again, is a tool. And this is a tool that when it comes to portraiture, you bet I am going to be using this camera, and I'm going to be using less my SL system for portraiture because I happen to use my SL system a lot with them lenses, but for product photography, I use the SL system. I love that stuff. For all the stuff you see guys on all around continues to be shot with a system because it's awesome, and I can also use macro lenses, the Lumix 100, which is a lens that I'm going to be doing a review. Love that lens. And that's about it, guys. So thank you for watching this video. Now I have to figure out how to end the stream, and until then, I'll see you in the next one. Excuse my first stream with the Sony FX3, but I promise the next one is going to be better. Talk to you soon.